Okay, welcome back to Hyperbola. Example 2, we're going to find the standard form of the equation of the hyperbola. And so for this example, it's not already in standard form, so what we're going to have to do is complete the square to get it in standard form. And I see that I have 9y minus x squared, so I'm thinking the y is going to come first and then the minus the x squared, which means that the transverse axis is going to be vertical since the y comes first. So I'm going to group it together. So I'm going to group my y's together first, and then my x's, and I'm going to subtract 18 to the other side. So I have 9y squared minus 36y. I group those. Then I have minus x squared minus 6x is minus 18. So to complete the square, you have to remember that you cannot have a coefficient. So I have a coefficient of a 9 for my x's, and I have a coefficient of a minus 1 for my y's. Minus 1 for my x's and 9 for my y's. So I'm going to factor that out, and I'm just going to factor it out of the grouped terms. So I have y squared minus 4y, leave some space. I'm going to pull out a minus 1. I'm going to have x squared. When I pull minus 1 out of minus 6, you get plus 6x. Leave some space is minus 18. Okay. So I had to pull the 9 out of the y terms, and I pulled the minus 1 out of the x terms. You need to make sure when you distribute that back in, you do get back that minus 6x. So I do see sign errors there. Okay, so we're going to complete the square. So you get y, you do half of your minus 4, and half of minus 4 is minus 2. And then you square minus 2 and you add 4. And remember, you're really adding 9 times 4, which is 36. So I really added 36 to that side, so I have to add 36 to this side as well. So I'm going to add 36. And then with my x's, you have minus 1. And then you take half of your 6, which is 3, and you square it. And then you take 3 squared and you get 9. And what I really added is minus 1 times 9, so I really added negative 9 to this side, so I really have to add negative 9 to that side. Whatever you add to one side of the equation, you add to the other side of the equation. Okay, and then I add up the numbers on the right hand side of my equation, and I get 9. And remember, for standard form, you have to set equal to 1, so I'm going to divide everything by 9. And divide each term by 9, so they cancel there. Get y minus 2 squared all over 1 minus x plus 3 squared over 9 equals 1. Okay, so I do have the standard form, which we were asked to find, and then we were asked to graph it. Okay, so we can go ahead and graph it. The center is h comma k, so the center is at minus 3. Remember, the x is over here. Okay, and then the y is at positive 2. So I go minus 3 up 2 to get to the center, and I'm going to label that center z. Then I know that my a squared is 1. So a squared is 1, which tells me that a equals 1. And my b squared is 9, which tells me that b equals 3. So I have those. So remember, my since the y comes first, that tells me that the transverse axis is vertical because the y comes first. So along the transverse axis is where the vertices is going. So I know I go a units to my vertices, and my a is 1, so I go up 1 to get to my vertex, and I go down 1 to get to my vertex. And then my b is 3, so that tells me that I go left and right 3 to make my box. So I'm going to make my box 1, 2, 3 over. So then you have your box, which you make with your vertices, your a and your b. Then once you have your little box, Then you can draw in your asymptotes. Your asymptotes go through the corner of your box and through the center. So you draw in those. And then now you're ready to draw in your branches of your hyperbola. And then remember, your branches will approach your asymptotes and touch the vertex. So from your vertex, you draw in your branches that approach your asymptotes, and they should be U-shaped. And then you also need the foci, which are on the inside of your branches. And your foci, remember, are C units from the center. So we need to find the C value. And remember, for hyperbolas, we know that the formula a squared plus b squared is c squared. So my 1 is my a squared. My 9 is my b squared. So I have 1 plus 9 is c squared. Or c is square root 10, which is a little bit bigger than 3, because square root 10 is bigger than square root 9. Which tells me my c, to get to my foci, I start at the center and I go up square root 10, which is about 3. 1, 2, 3, and then a little bit more. You go down from the center, 1, 2, 3, and a little bit more to get to your foci. So I have my foci marked, my center marked, and then my vertices marked. So now all I have left to do is write in the values, and to do that I'm just going to zoom in a little bit. Okay, so now that I've zoomed in, I can write the values on my axes. So I'm going to start off with the center. The center had coordinates at -3, 2. I went up 1 to get to the vertices, so those were at 3 and at 0, of course. And then from the center up to the foci, I went up 2, and then I went up square root 10, so it's 2 plus square root 10, and then I went down to minus square root 10. Okay, so I started at the center, which is up 2, and then I added square root 3, which is a little more, square root 10, which is a little more than 3, and I went down 1, 2, 3, a little bit more, square root 10. So those are those. So I labeled my values, and I have my 2 branches going through my vertices with arrows approaching the asymptote. So let's move on to the last example. Okay, so for example 3, we're going to find the standard form of the hyperbola, and we're given that the foci are at 5, 0, so I'm going to go ahead and plot those. 1, 2, 3. That would be my foci. And at -5, 0. So already, since my foci lie on this line, I know that my transverse axis is horizontal because of the foci. And I know the vertices are at 2, 0, and -2, 0, so I know my vertices are here. So I know my hyperbola is going to roughly sketch out with left and right opening C's. So I'm going to label those. And remember that the center is going to be the in between the 2 vertices. So I know that my center, my h, k, must be at 0, 0 for it to be symmetric. And the distance from the center to the vertex is a, so my a must equal 2. And from the center to the foci is c, so c must equal 5. And I know that a squared plus b squared is c squared, so I can use this to find b, which will help us to draw our box so that we're able to sketch it. So a squared would be 2 squared, plus b squared is c squared, or 5 squared, or b squared is 25 minus 4, which is 21. So I know that b is square root of 21. That's between the square root of 25 and the square root of 16, so that's around 4.5, which is useful for graphing it. We just have to know that it's bigger than 4 and less than 5. Okay, so the standard form when the transverse axis is horizontal is x minus h squared. The x comes first since the transverse axis is horizontal, over a squared, because a squared is first in both equations. Hyperbola, it's minus y minus k squared over b squared equals 1. So that would be the generic standard form. I have to plug in my hk, which is 0, 0. So I have it x squared minus y squared. My a squared, a is 2, a squared is 4, b squared is 21. So I'm using my b squared here being 21. So this is the standard form. So what I have to do is sketch, which means graph it how we've been graphing it. Okay, so I have the vertices and the foci, so I have to draw my box. So I went over A to get to my vertices, and you have to go up B to find the other edge of your box. And your B, remember, is square root 21, or about 4.5. So I'm going to go up 4.5 and down 1, 2, 3, 4.5. So then you can draw in your box, and you make your box with your vertices. So your box is always a rectangle of length 2a and 2b for the sides. Once you draw in your box, now we can use the corner of your rectangle in order to draw in the asymptotes. So your asymptotes go through the center and through the corner of your box. You should of course use a straight edge for that. And then for the last step, we're able to draw in the two branches of your hyperbola that approach your asymptotes and go through the vertex. So I have my vertex, it's going to approach my asymptote, and they should be these C shapes with arrows on either end. Okay, and I have all of my labels for all the numbers. All the important things on my graph are done. So that is the end of the lecture. So what you need to do is turn your book to page 656 and read through the section in your book on hyperbolas, and come to class ready to do some problems. Have a good night.